Let me just get that sorted. Yeah, we're a couple of minutes early, just so we can sort the parish notes out. Okay. Yeah, lovely. Welcome. The parish notes will start in a moment. This is just so I've got a lot to cover tonight. So I just wanted to get in a few minutes early to make sure that, let me just make sure this is working. Why hasn't that started? Oh, right. Okay. So I've jumped onto this live, and what happens is the live online doesn't start until I've started it. So I'm going to start the lives at 5 to the hour. So if you're with me now, you're getting chat disconnected while we what the bloody hell? Oh man, alive. Right, we will go through this methodically, because as with anything, it is a learning. Right. So let me explain, and those that are here, you should be able to. Let me have a look at this. Hello. That's very odd. So we're now in delay. Can somebody just let me know that you can see me and it's coming through? Right, okay. So there must have been some technical issues for whatever reason. But I wanted to start a few minutes early so I can get some parish notes out of the way, so we can get into stuff, because there's lots to talk about tonight. I've got lots of questions that I want you to interact with, if you wouldn't mind awfully. But I must say that there are some technical issues, and I'll explain why. On Friday, we decided to move broadband for many different reasons, but we wanted to get the lagging that was on the lives. We wanted to fix, so we spoke with a particular company. It's EE and BT. It looks like EE is going to be part of BT. So we did a lot of research, and we went to them and said, look, this is the situation, this is what we have, this is what we need. Oh yeah, we'll be able to do that, not a problem. So engineer arrives on Friday, engineer changes all the gubbins, and now we have, good on you, Dean, and now we have a situation where it's completely dropping out. So I've spoken to them this morning. Oh, Mr. Allen, yes, not a problem. What-o? Yes, of course. I'll check the whole system. I don't know. I'm not quite sure how they do that. But she's sitting in Cardiff, I think, and she she goes, yes. So just explain to me. So I explained to her my best posh voice, and she was like, oh yes, everything's fine. I said, well, it's not actually, because I've tried to tell you that it's dropping out. And it continues to drop out 5 minutes before I started. So if you are watching this and it drops out, stay where you are, because I'll literally just have to reboot it. And the reason why I'm doing it like that tonight is because I need the evidence to pick the phone up and rip somebody a new derriere in Cardiff in the morning, because they lied to me, and they will be told, you lied to me, you told me it would work, it's not working, it's dropping out, I want somebody out today, otherwise I'll drive to Cardiff and do what I normally do. Can't tell you one here because I'll get arrested. But, you know, it's not their fault, their system's shit. But they have 14 days. If my memory serves me correctly, they have 14 days. They installed it on Friday, problems on Saturday, lagging. So my radio show at Zetland FM, there were problems with that. And now on Sunday for the first live since the system's been installed. And I'm just very nervously not trusting them. So, with that sort of explanation, I knew I had to do something. Parish notes this evening. Sister Mary has said she would like to welcome all the screamers, the quiet ones, the tipsy ones, the high blood sugar caners. See what she did there? So Sister Mary has asked those adventurous members of the congregation to make sure you have your altar wine in your own little cup, not a mug, you wrong, because somebody was sick in the toilets last week. Not quite sure who, but it must have been somebody who had a little bit too much of the falling down water. Spectacles, testicles, wallet and watch. So she wants those more adventurous members of the congregation to meet in the chapter. I don't know what she means by that, but seemingly the bishop is about to make an announcement in the chapter. He's going to unveil his name in the name of clarity. I think it's because Jim Bowen is not very well. Notice how there's nothing coming out of Rome. Wonder why that is then. I'm being facetious, of course. So seemingly the bishop is changing his first name to Bash, because then he can, from here on in, be known as Bash the Bishop, which I think has got quite a ring to it. You can definitely shuffle that around. So Sister Mary is also, she's decided, selling dodgy fags at the back of the bike shed, which is just round the corner from the chapter hall, or room, if you wish. She seems to have suggested that the reason why she's selling the dodgy fags is because she needs a little bit more lead for the roof. So who am I to argue with God? Who am I to argue with Sister Mary? And who am I to argue with Bash the Bishop? The choir boys are on strike, seemingly. They're not very happy over the price of the Mars bars. They're not getting many nowadays. Wonder why that is. Jim Bowen, have you heard from him lately? So if anyone's in the need of an emergency, let the warders know. They have decided they're going to position at each of the entrances, but mostly near the back door, because they've said to me, Your Reverence, we are backdoor men, so that's where we will be. If you need anything, if you get stuck in the middle of your sermon, then please give us a shout. The backdoor men will be at your disposal. And I also understand, as well as Sister Mary's dodgy fags and the choir boys kicking off about the Mars bars, the warders have decided that the barrels of Crisco fat, they will use that for easy access. Didn't know the doors were creaking, to be fair. And a bottle of Diddy, I think they're calling it. The warders tried to explain it to me, but I didn't understand what it was. But a bottle of Diddy, I think they mean baby oil with added special K. So to all those parishioners in the body of the kirk so far, welcome to another Theatre of the Mind live. This time it's number 161, and we will get there. I want to take a couple of mentions and comments, and that's what's going to happen with the parish notes at 5 to the hour. I'll kind of engage, and then 8 o'clock, boof, off we go. Mind you, I'm just Stuart, I understand, left a little Jaeger taster with one of the warders who has a bit of a weak stomach. So he said, Your Eminence, I'm not going to nick your Jaeger bomb. You have it. Brilliant. That'll get things going. Oh, yeah, bugger. Technical term that we use in radio. Stuart says, Evening, Rev. Sister Mary was asking, why do you mention Battenberg all the time? I said, there's a story there. Have you not heard it? She says, well, no. So I told her. And now she's gone to lie down in a darkened room after she's had one of those dodgy fags that she's flogging at the back of the bike shed. Polly Galtieri says, oh, Adrian, Reverend, yeah, utter wrong, and hope you've had a good weekend. I have, actually. I've been doing a bit of a deep dive, and I am going to mention something in a moment before we get into everything we've got. Honestly, the world gets madder by the day. But I hope that the live this evening is going to bring you a little sanity, because that's what we do. We cut through the fog of war, fear, obligation and guilt. We cut through the fog of war, and we kind of give it to you, basically. No, that's a wrong gag, Adrian. Des Ashton, evening all. Jumped in early-ish, ready for irregular start. It's irregular, Des, but welcome to the body of the kirk. Seaman Staines, ahoy there, shipmates. Yeah, wrong uns. Seaman. Oh, I've just had another gag. Honestly, I think maybe I should just crack the mucky gags that are come into my head when I'm dealing with stuff. I mean, there's poor Seaman Staines. I understand that he was with one of the nuns, one of the nuns in Sister Mary's care, and I understand they were getting a bit leery in the sacristy the other day, and seemingly Seaman Staines was wanted to kiss the nun, and Sister Mary said, "Seaman Staines, you can't do that." He says, "Why is that?" She said, "Because you'd be all over her face." So when I see the words Seaman Staines, that's what pops into my head. Gavin Davis, oh, it's going to be fun. Oh, you bet, with all that Crisco fat and that Diddy baby oil. Yeah, bet you're sweet bitty. Because also, I think I've made somewhere in my notes, I'm doing a deep dive into stuff. One of them is Diddy and Epstein and stuff and stuff and stuff and stuff. And I swear it will make your hair curl. You don't need any product on your hair from tonight. Proper make your hair curl. And just as a little aside, you do know that Russell Brand was at Diddy's parties, don't you? Oh, I say, it's as if he's not in enough trouble as it is. Can't comment, obviously, because it's sub judice, and I would not interfere with the process of law under any way, shape, or form. But American law, oh, what? Somebody said, oh, he left and went out to Florida a year ago. I think that's sloppy reporting. I don't think he's been out in Florida that long. But why? Just asking for a friend. Why do you think he's gone to Florida? Don't answer. Just allow me to just ask for friends. I've got lots of them, seemingly. Louise Sampson, evening all, you're wrong. Evening, Louise. Welcome to the body of the Kirk. Tom Harneys. Hi, everyone. What a lovely day to start digging a Battenberg mine, just in case the tariffs affect future supplies. No, I've had it on good authority from the Donald. Well, it was Marla Maples, actually. I'm not quite sure what she's doing, getting in contact with the powers that be, but seemingly there will be plenty of Battenberg for everyone to go round. So, Tom, welcome to the body of the Kirk. Bovril, evening all. Keeping it short and sweet, you Bovril. P.T. Ham, evening Adrian and all you wrong-uns, and Amalia Grassi has remembered 2 weeks on the trot. Amalia, how good is that? Good evening, spiffy ones, with wrong-uns. We are the wrong ones. Hey, do you think I should ask what's his name, Kitty, and the those famous people? One of them's dead now, sadly. I wonder. No, I'm not going to go there. I'm not that particular conspiracy theory. But can you imagine if we actually did a version of the young ones, as in the wrong ones? Oh, what fun we could have! Hands up? Who wants to play Cliff Richard? I'll wait. Andrew James, Des Ashton, you sound like you're turning into a larder. Now, for me, a larder is where you put. It's a cold place that you can put food in, but only if you've got certain types of council house, because they all had larders. Amalia Grassi, anyone had an Easter egg yet? Oh, don't tempt me, Amalia. Those bloody small eggs. I mean, it's not size, but cream eggs. Cream. They're full of cream. Maybe that's back to Seaman Staines and that young nun that had to be told off by Sister Mary. Well, I don't know whether do the small cream eggs, when they explode, does it go all over your face? And has anybody put any cream eggs into a pastry? Because then it would be a cream pie. Just asking for a friend. Obviously likes his chocolate. Don't we all, darling? Karen, good evening, Adrian. And Amalia Grassi. Here we go. So tonight, we've dispensed with the parish notes. Welcome to everyone into the body of the Kirk. If you want to get your name checked and mentioned and stuff, then 5 to 8 Sundays and Wednesdays. Excuse me. Oh, first cough of the night. I want to tell you that that I've already recorded an interview with a guy called Mark Shaw. And I want everybody to watch it because, as far as I'm concerned, Mark Shaw happens to be, and you can Google him. He's written like 31 books, with 6 books especially concentrated on the JFK assassination, the Marilyn Monroe assassination, a US journalist, reporter called Dorothy Kilgannon, who was at one point was very, very, very famous in America, and he's going to link in his new book coming in the fall. He's going to link JFK, Marilyn Monroe, Dorothy Kilgannon, and and RFK assassinations. And I did I'll call it a Rogan-esque interview, just me and him, and it's fascinating. It's absolutely jam-packed with facts and facts and facts that cannot be refuted from primary sources. He doesn't deal with rumor and conjecture. He just deals with primary sources. The man is, in my view, a genius. So I've already recorded it, and I'm going to upload it as quickly as I can. He's allowed me some paperwork to corroborate what he's saying. I'm just going to add that to the interview in the video, and it's about 90 minutes long. But I tell you, if you, in my view, if you want something to do with JFK or the assassination of Marilyn Monroe, if you want to go down that rabbit hole, and this is the American people. This is corrupt governance of the American people. It's recorded, it's done. I'm not going to say it to you, or there's this, that, and the other. But what I am going to do is the channel will still have these lives Sunday and Wednesday. We're going to add other layers on top to the channel, so there's lots of different things that you can get into. We're going to do the conspiracy theories. We're going to interview people with special stories. Lots and lots and lots and lots of stuff. But just don't worry. These lives will always be here Sunday and Wednesday, and maybe your phone in. I know we've talked about it for a long time, but that's where my skills lie. A lot of them transferable, but that's where it lies. But Mark Shaw, if you Google Mark Shaw books, you will find Mark. He's a fantastic, fantastic man. Lots of knowledge and encyclopedic knowledge around. And I do ask him a straight question. Mark, tell me, who shot JFK? And he tells me, but you'll have to watch it to find out. Interview's recorded, and it's a pretty good deep dive. It's a Rogan-esque interview, just me and him. Tonight on the part of the sermon, we've got 6 questions. I'll start with one in a moment. Quite a serious one, because we're going to get into a serious subject. There's lots of stuff to talk about tonight. God knows how long we're going to go for, but it could be about 4 or 5 hours. I jest, of course, because people will be like, Jesus, pass me the Battenberg. We're going to talk about Gen Z, because the Times have released their Young Power List 2025. Please don't. I nearly burst me incontinence pants. The Times Young Power List 2025. My hairy backside. Power List, my hairy backside. What, the Nepo babies? My hairy arse. So we'll get stuck into Gen Z, because it's better to laugh at them than join with them. Otherwise we would cry. But I am going to take quite a philosophical look at Gen Z, because I do believe there are answers within what's the Americans say? Within every crisis there's an opportunity. Send the buggers to war. That's what I say. We go back to the 80s and 90s. Oh, hang them. Oh, flog them. Well, it might have worked. Simon Clarkson, private radio station. Oh, what? Oh, I mean, I've got enough archive to keep a radio station in bloody hours of phoning. Very funny phoning also. So welcome to live number 161. Parish notes done. Sermon's going to include 6 questions tonight. We're going to talk a little showbiz, because I've got something fantastic to tell you. The mainstream media, I looked at the newspapers today who print the TV for the upcoming week, and bless them, they only put BBC 1 and 2 and the 19 Channel 4, Channel 5. But they don't, there's bigger things. So Adolescence, that's on Netflix, isn't it? I said Flux, you're wrong. And Andrew James says, I thought you meant Mark Shaw from Then Jericho, Rev. Andrew, I met him in a nightclub in Newcastle once, and he gave me, I've still got the cassette somewhere, and he said to me, here, play that on your radio show. He said, there's no overdubs on there. I said, well, it don't matter. I thought it was Then Jericho, not the overdubs. It was lost on him. So no, and I did say to Mark Shaw, I said, there's only one other Mark Shaw in the world that I know of, and it's a guy that's a lead singer with a band called Then Jericho from the UK. Oh, he wrote it down. Oh, I'll have a look. He's a fantastic man, honestly. We're going to talk about Anthony Fauci. Oh, hoi, 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 hoi. We're going to talk about... I'm going to take your opinion on the Grand National, if you don't mind. We're going to talk about the PPE grift, because it's actually bigger, much, much bigger than Michelle Mone. Knock, knock. Oh, Michelle Mone. Oh, well, that worked then. We're going to talk about Kate Griftaway. That's Galloway, if you don't mind, because I didn't think there was an angle that she could grift on, and she has. I swear to God, I didn't think there was anything left in Dead Derek. But there evidently is. I'll tell you about that later. The Groucho Club, because seemingly there's another Labour MP in the technical term that we use in radio, obviously, in the shite. Jeffrey Epstein's rearing his ugly head. See what I did there? We're going to talk about Channel 4 dispatches. Did you see it the other night? Delivered to a predator. We're going to talk about the tariffs. Oh, holy Jesus, man. All these bloody newspapers. They haven't got... See, the journalists are bored now. We're getting into May soon. The weather's improving, or it did for the last few days. I saw them cloud seeding earlier today, so I'm definitely expecting clouds and no sun tomorrow. With Trump flooding the zone, it's been a busy old week for the Donald. Do you know we need to have 3-day blackout kits? Aye, right. And let's get rid of those two. So there's lots to be going on with. We'll get into somebody's been arrested, not charged, arrested. So technically we can talk about it, but not too heavily. We can talk about it in a general sense. But once he's been charged, then we can't mention it at all. I'm going to ask you, what have I just done with oh, bagger? Oh, they're in my hand. Not first, says Sister Mary. So, question 1. Quite serious, but it will dovetail into Phil Levant. Welcome to the body of the Kirk. It dovetails into what we're going to talk about in a moment. So, question number 1 tonight, and I've got 6. We're talking about historical SA. You know what that means, don't you? It's called sexual abuse. Now, in my videos, I can't mention the R word. I can't mention the word sexual abuse because YouTube doesn't like it. They can't attach adverts to those videos with those words in. So if you hear any YouTubers saying SA and the R word, it's because, well, those words are banned. So I think if you actually put them in the comments, that's why the comments may disappear, because YouTube doesn't like it. But because I don't monetize these lives, I can say anything that I want within reason, evidently. But I'm going to ask you a question. This question, question 1. Should an historic sexual abuse and rape case, historic, not current, historic, be time barred? So it's 1 for yes, 2 for no. There is a reason why I'm asking that, and I will explain that to do with the Labour MP in just a moment. But should historical sexual abuse and rape be time barred? No jail for sex abuse, just text abuse nowadays. Interesting. I think we might have a split body of the Kirk this evening. Most are saying no, some are saying yes. Interesting. It's split. I think it's probably 70-30. No and yes. So the reason why I ask that, and I will give you my own personal experience. So my allegations that jailed a specific man, I was part of a court case 5 years ago, 2020, that the allegations went back to when I was 5. So over 50 years. and he was jailed for 35, nearly 36 years. He had a load knocked off by the judge because of his seemingly good work in the community. That's because he was a Labour Party member. He was a Labour councillor in Sunderland. His name, Thomas Wright. You can Google it if you want. He's a foul, vile man that I wish dead. Just my view, and I'm allowed it because I'm a victim of him. 5-year-old. So, Andy Turner said, it just froze my end. Really, Andy. I'm keeping an eye on it. If anything does freeze, then just put it in the comments so I'm aware of it. Thank you, Andy. If you want another Labour Party member, a Labour councillor for many decades in Sunderland, he was jailed for 35 years. I'll leave that with you. A foul man called Thomas Wright on my mother's side. Aidan, that's the one. I don't really want to be reminded of it. I just wanted to bring you corroboration and evidence that what I'm telling you is the truth. So I've named him. No need to put it in the comment. I lived it. So it looks like it's a 70-30 to should not be time barred, which I'm happy for, but I genuinely just looking for your take on it all. Because if it had been time barred, I wouldn't have been able to take him to court. Because there's some people are asking the questions around other cases, which I'm not going to name because people have been charged. They're asking, oh, why is it taking 25 years, 26 years to go to the police? Well, I will tell you that Cuban Pete, thank you. It's not freezing where I am. It's not freezing on my phone. It's not freezing on my computer, but keep it up. I'm just very nervous. Just going to use this comment from Terry. Terry Wookford. It sometimes takes years for suppressed memories to resurface and for the person to come forward. Having sexual abuse or cases, time barred means people will get away with horrendous abuse. And in my personal experience, he would have done, but he didn't. And the court was very supportive. And all I can say is that when it all happened and we went to court, thankfully he pleaded guilty to everything. So he got time knocked off for pleading guilty. We didn't have to take the witness stand, but it was still painful enough. And then stuff and shit just starts surfacing. So for more than a couple of years, I had to kind of deal with the dreams, the bad dreams, and stuff, which I really don't want to go into. But the reason I mention it was so that you have the corroboration around integrity, that what I'm talking about is personal experience, my lived experience. So I want to get to this this Dan Norris. Is it Dan Norris? Yeah, Dan Norris. He's a 65-year-old MP. I don't understand why he's both a mayor and an MP, because I'm absolutely sure that you can't hold the two offices at the same time. But, you know, I can be proven wrong and proved otherwise. Rusty's roamings. My wife was subjected to mental abuse by a parent, but it was only when she was much older she realised what it was. Look, I can give you... I remember him, the beast, standing there and saying to me, "Don't tell anyone. Don't tell anyone, because it'll get us both into trouble." This is like 5-year-old, man. Thank you, Stuart. That's very kind. But I'm not mentioning this to garner any kind of sympathy, because you know where sympathy is in the dictionary, don't you? Between shit and syphilis. So I'm using it to corroborate what I'm now going to talk about, and that was part of the question: should sexual abuse and rape cases be time barred or time debarred? So this MP, Dan Norris, he's been arrested on child sexual abuse and rape allegations. He's been suspended from the Labour Party. He's had the whip removed, unfortunate term of phrase, over the sexual abuse allegations. It's historic sexual abuse. That's why I asked the question. And a rape allegation from 2020. So the 2020 rape allegation is only 5 years ago. I think the Labour Party and Carol Vorderman, because Carol Vorderman was a big fan of this man, had photographs taken with him and everything. And it was Jacob Rees-Mogg's seat that this guy took over. And you've got this shit, pardon my phraseology, but this shitstorm kicking off for the Labour Party. Oh, I mean, it's bad enough for Sir Keir Starmer. What a wet of a man. A namby-pamby pinko liberal. Oh, you might not like being called a liberal, Adrian. Well, he is. He's not a man. He's a wet. And I just, having looked at it and read all the reportage in today's newspapers and yesterday's and Friday's, I'm just a bit suspicious around the timing of it all. Obviously, the police are the evidence gatherers. They go and take the statements and the yada, yada, yada. And then they go to the CPS, and the CPS will go yay or nay as whether the police can take it forward and whether they'll get a prosecution, or in their opinion, they'll get a prosecution. But the timing is really weird. And I'll tell you for why. It's exactly a month before the council elections. So Labour are being smeared with a brush, again, that they don't want to be smeared by, because this is evident that the Labour Party, en masse, not just the parliamentary Labour Party, are chocked full to the gunnels of perverts and ne'er-do-wells and people who need to be expunged from the Labour Party. It's as simple as that. I mean, they've got anti-Semites in there that they treat with more reverence than sexual abusers and rapists. So, in my view, Labour is finished. I've been telling you it for 18 months. Labour are done. Finished. Over. So, you do know that Tony Blair has resurfaced, don't you? Tony Blair now on the board of the World Economic Forum. Tony Blair now on the board of WEF. How many times do you need me to tell you? Tony Blair is on the board of the World Economic Forum. Nice. How much you get for that, Tone? Sorry, Charles Linton. Google it. Bow Street Magistrates. How much you get for that, Charles Linton? Blair? And there could be a new by-election. And I know the papers were trying to... was there some election on Thursday? Because I honestly, trying to keep tabs on everything that's going on is real tough. But they now have a man that's been arrested, not charged currently, which is why I can mention it. But Labour is finished. It's done. It's over. Bye-bye. Ta-ra. It's not going to be re-elected, which is why... oh, by the way, I forgot. Klaus Schwab has resigned. Is resigning. Is going to resign. Has resigned. Is resigning. Seemingly, that process is not going to be over until January 2027. So please explain to me, if you can, in the comments, how's that a resignation? So has that got anything to do with the court cases last year, then? Klaus, yeah, wrong. So what you been up to, you mucky old tart? Oh, yeah, but I'm not going to tell you on here, because I'll end up with me brake pipes being cut. We know what you've been doing, don't we, Mr. Schwab? And why you've got Tony Blair on the board of the World Economic Forum, I have no idea. But I do know possibly the reason why young Klaus is not resigning until 2027. I told you for many months that Agenda 2030, they want in place by 2027. So he's there to make sure that whatever they want in place is in place by January 2027, when he's going to step to one side. Some rumours are that Tony Blair's going to take over. Chortle. But what the hell is he? Terry Wookford said, so Phony Tony can take over from Klaus. How ball deep has Tony Blair got to be to get into that kind of position? Suddenly from nowhere, just ends up being on the board of the World Economic Forum. Oh, and how does David Beckham get a Crystal Award from the World Economic Forum? Tony Blair, who played footy with David Beckham, who had David Beckham as part of the Olympic bid team for 2012. David Beckham ball deep with Tony Blair. unfortunate term, I shall qualify that. He's a footballer. He plays with balls. And Tony Blair likes to play with balls. And, well, how does David Beckham, for his philanthropy, Adrian, his philanthropy with youngsters around football? Not Bobby Charlton, though, is he? No. So David Beckham, ball deep, football deep with the World Economic Forum in Davos. And then Tony Blair, Charles Linton. Yeah, I'm on the board. So I wonder when the Night of Long Knives is going to take place in the Parliamentary Labour Party. When is two-tier, free gear, queer as folk, in my view, queer Kia? How long's that going to take then? Because a Night of Long Knives is coming, or maybe a cabinet reshuffle. 5 5s are 25. A quick shuffle. But will there be a quick shuffle after the local elections, after they are obliterated? Because I asked you on Wednesday, don't know what day it is at the moment, I asked you on Wednesday and said, who would you vote for? Would it be Reform? Do you still want to vote Reform, even though they're a bit of a guddle, which is a great Scottish word, bit of a mess that they're in? And two-tier, free gear, queer Kia, that's queer as folk, Kia, he's not in a place to kind of lead from the front. But I think there's a Night of Long Knives coming in the Parliamentary Labour Party when they get a shafting at the local elections, because it looks like everybody's going to vote Reform. But then again, Reform is just another shill. It's just, in my view, and I'm allowed it because it's my channel, I'm being facetious, but look, why is Nige being ever so nice and just isn't looking at what we're saying or anybody's saying or anybody's pointing out? He's just driving it hard. He's driving it home hard. Not a first, from what I can gather. Backdoor Kia, said Stuart. Adam Whale says there are only hope. I know, but don't underestimate the political classes. Don't underestimate them, because they will shaft you. They've done it for decades and decades and decades, even as far back as the Second World War. They will bend you over the desk and absolutely stick it right up you until you can't put your dinner down your pie hole. Going to ask for question 2, because we've got 6 of them tonight, so I need to stay on it. So 4 parts to this question, but it's actually the 4th part that I want you to respond to. Not the first 3. You're wrong uns, because it's sub judice. He's being charged. But I did ruminate over something quite quizzical. Didn't understand why. So I was just sitting there, as I do, reading the newspapers. Burlington Bertie says nothing like a quick shuffle. The Tories did it for 5 years. Liz Truss et al. Yeah, Liz Truss, she's a sub. BDSM, she's a sub. She's got a day collar on. Google it. If you've got no family around you and you're not at work, Google day collar. That'll make your hair curl. That's Liz Truss. So question 2. As I say, I will alert you when I want you to answer the question that I'm going to ask you. But I was just ruminating on, why did Russell Brand leg it to Florida? Bit odd. Quintessentially English, no work in Hollywood. I wonder why he legged it to Florida. Is he going to face the American charges that he's had leveled against him? Because there are American charges waiting for him in America. Don't know why he's, did President Brown Trousers, President Poopy Pants, did he give him a pardon? Here, Russell, mate. I'm a man of God. Can't you see that in my eyes? No. You do know that speaking to God is called praying, and God speaking to you is called paranoid schizophrenia. So I wonder, will his attendance at the Diddy parties, the pictures of him at the Diddy parties, are they going to resurface? Just trips off the tongue. Got nothing to do with anything, just tripping off the tongue. And the question that I want to ask you is, That's very prescient. Rusty's roamings found God just in time. I think you found him at the bottom of the Thames, to be fair. And I always wondered, surely you have to be an ordained minister to baptize someone. He just went out in his tighty whities. The man wears Y fronts. I mean, he wears Y fronts, as evidenced by the picture. I've never worn Y fronts since I was 7-year-old. But this is a question. 1 for yes, 2 for no. Or maybe you have some kind of insight. What was it that Katy Perry kept in her home safe as insurance? Katy Perry told the world in the film about her, oh yes, I've got some paperwork in my safe at home and I keep it there from my marriage to Russell Brand and I keep it there for insurance purposes. Wonder what that is. If you have any insight. Terry Wookford, anyone can baptize. Yeah, anybody with a God complex. I always thought my minister at my Pentecostal church, Hebron Gospel Mission in Sunderland, nice. Maybe he wants to be, Kaz 987 says, maybe he wants to be baptized in the Everglades as well as the Thames. So just a little question to keep us going. And what we're going to do next, we're going to do Anthony Fauci. So I'm going to say this to you with all candor and seriousness, that the last 5 years has been mad. Mad. Everyone genuinely wants to do the right thing, has done the right thing. I mean, Tony Blair did level at everybody. He says, well, I was just doing the right thing, bombing Iraq. That's not the same, though, as taking the jibber jabber. But Anthony Fauci, yeah, you're wrong. Get the bloody jab taken. Get the bloody jab taken. Obviously, he's got a bit of a potty mouth, so they say. But Anthony Fauci. So I was just, again, thinking about all this because they haven't stopped yet. They haven't. And I don't mean to scare you, but if you were in this position where you have to get a pardon from the American president before anything's found against you, and there's Fauci coming out, and the reason I'm telling you is because I'm trying to prepare you. So if you were this evil, in my view, if you were this evil, Anthony Fauci and his missus, they're both doctors, if you were that evil and that responsible for deaths on a monumental scale around the world, not just America, around the world, and it continues to come out that the Charlie 19 was created in the Wuhan lab. It continues to be given to the general public in the mainstream media. They didn't 5 years ago. They followed the narrative. And then we've got Lord COVID in the double-page spread in the Mail today. And, you know, I take what the Mail say with a pinch of salt because they don't know whether they're Arthur or Martha at the minute. And they were asking Valance, is he going to come out and tell us what he actually knew at the time? And everybody was like, Thursday night, rattle your pots and pans, give the NHS a round of applause for doing what? Haven't quite worked that one out yet. 5 years later. The NHS did what? Dance videos on TikTok. So a lot of people, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people, Jackie Glasgow says it's gain of function research, as does Rain Norton. Ulysses of Eriu, Trump is going to pardon him, just like Acosta then. No, he's not going to pardon him. No, it was shitty's pants. Uncle Joe, brown trousers. The president that kept filling his nappy whilst in public and on stage with Emile Macron. Now, it's not the first time that... no, don't. I need to take a quick drink. Sorry. Have you seen Emile Macron's husband? What? Who said that? Well, me. Must be the Jaeger bomb in my tea. So Anthony Fauci has had to have a pardon from Uncle Joe. Uncle Joe, brown trousers. President Poopy Pants. President Shitty's Pants. Oh, Jill, she'll turn around and go, oh, come along, Joe. We'll take you home and we'll get that shit off your ass. So if you don't mind, we'll put a new nappy on you and then you can go on Air Force One and then we'll sort all that out. I mean, the most powerful man in the Western world wasn't even Joe Biden. It was bloody Obama. Obama, PlayStation 5. So Anthony Fauci, I'm wondering if he thinks because Uncle Joe gave him a pardon that he's got your back and you're untouchable. Well, if you were that evil and responsible for that evil, what would you be doing now? Would you want to complete the job? I want you to stay with me because this is important. This is probably the most important thing that I'm saying tonight. And there's a few things. So if you're that evil and responsible for one of the, in my view, and I'm allowed it, the biggest deception on mankind ever. And there's some other doozies, Man on the Moon, JFK, there's some other big doozies. And, you know, in 20 or 30 or 40 years, we will talk about this as a war crime. We will talk about this as a crime against humanity. We will talk about that with those words, in my view, and the name of Anthony Fauci. Have you read RFK's book about Fauci? So, if you know the savior of mankind is in the White House, albeit with a funny hair with a weave, do you unleash the dogs of war? Because Fauci is now saying that there's another one coming, another bird flu, or chicken flu, or cock flu. Well, we know who would be liking the cock flu. Would you, if you were that evil, just unleash the dogs of war? I don't care. I've got a pardon from the President of the United States. But it might be a bit... because that's why... I'm going to get to something in a moment to tell you about. But is that basically Anthony Fauci saying, fuck him? Is that Anthony Fauci, if you were that evil and that responsible for such a massive evil perpetrated on mankind, would you just go, I don't care, I'm an old boy now, so they can't do anything, I've got a pardon? Echoes Bunny Woman, Fauci's been saying for years, another one in 2025. I know, that's the worry. And what they're doing is they're ramping up the fear porn. They're ramping it up, and I will get to it at some point in my notes, because they're saying, oh, you need 3 days worth of stuff to protect you and be able to stay at home for 72 hours. And then they've said, oh, yes, part of that pack, can you take some ID documents like passports and stuff and driver's license? Why would they want you to have your passport or your driving license or some documentation that identifies you? Because they're expecting you to be dead. Now, the reason why I say this in all candor is because at this point in our evolution and our society, people are waking up. They don't want us awake. They want us, well, they don't want us dead. They want us ill so they can make more money. So I'll give you this one stat that you can take with you. So how much do you think that Big Pharma made from selling the jibber jabber to governments around the world? How much did they make? About $60 billion. How much have Big Pharma made from the add-ons in trying to right people's ills, myocarditis, pericarditis, the turbo cancers, the all of the things that come with having taken the jibber jabber? And I will tell you that I don't judge anyone. I've said this a million times, and my stance is exactly the same today as it was 6 months ago, a year ago, 5 years ago. Everybody didn't know what this was. and everybody was trying to do the right thing, whether it was by their partner or their family or their community or their locale. Everyone was trying to do their best. So there's no judgment here. But I will tell you that they have made $60 billion from selling the jibber jabber to governments. They've made $500 billion from selling in the answers and other medications to the things that have been created from the jibber jabber. So they don't want you dead, they want you ill, very ill, and they want you to take the answer, the anecdote, the antidote to what they've already given you. So I will give you this as fact. Pfizer, what have they done? They recognized that there was a Canadian company that they bought. Now, the company at the time was... Oi, 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 oi. Deborah, stay there. Don't write anything until I finish this. Pfizer were aware of a company in Canada that had an answer to turbo cancers, for want of a better term. And what Pfizer then did was the company was worth about $4 billion. Now, from what I understand, if you're buying a company, it's sometimes anywhere between 3 and 6 times turnover. That's the purchase point of a company. But Pfizer bought it, not at $4 billion, or even $5 billion, or even $6 billion, roughly where it was worth. Pfizer paid $40 billion for a company that was only worth $4 billion. What did they know? And how are they using that company? Well, they've integrated it into Pfizer, and turbo cancers are the big thing. So can you trust these snake oil sellers? No. Can you trust the people that they've bought off? I'm talking about the MPs, you know, backhanders, the corrupt politicians. They're all corrupt. They all lie. They're all corrupt. So would they stand up to benefit us? Or would they stand up and go, no, we need to look after the people? Would they bollocks? Would they bollocks? Stephen Hall says medical mafia. Karina Jane says Lee Anderson is losing my vote. Where was it? Let me get back to... Deborah says, breaking leaked audio of Lee Anderson offered big cash to defect to a party starting with R. He's already in a party starting with R. It's not Labour, it's not the Lib Dems, it's not the Tories. What would it be then? Well, let's keep watching. Let's get a bucket of popcorn and watch the malarkey. Les Griffith says, dear YouTube, lies aren't censored, only embarrassing truths. Oh, I say. That was way back at the end of 2023. I was thinking that. Yeah, because he went from the Tories to Reform. But they've only got 5 MPs. Quick bit of showbiz to lighten things up for a moment before another question. So, have you heard of a TV series called Black Mirror? That's what I was saying. It's one of the best pieces of TV. The new series drops on Netflix on Thursday. And none of the newspapers or magazines that normally do the TV stuff and review the TV stuff have reviewed it today. And it's out on Thursday. So, Black Mirror. I don't know whether you're a fan. It's into its 7th series. It's the 7th series that's going to drop. But I will tell you that in Black Mirror Series 6, there was, you know, these mechanical robotic dogs. They were talking about those, and it was like a Hunger Games. They were hunting humans, and they had AI on board, and they had cameras on board, so they knew that you were the target, and they were coming for you. They were coming for you. And the Donald, after the assassination attempt, he had them guarding Mar-a-Lago. And I saw them and I thought, blimey, that's a reality. Like within 18 months, that's a reality. It must have been weapons grade. It must have been Ministry of Defence grade. And it was It was on Trump's Mar-a-Lago. Can't argue with that. But coming up, Black Mirror drops Thursday. It's there is a continuation episode. If you've watched it before and you're a bit of a fan, there's a continuation episode, if I can say that correctly, to the USS Callister. That was in Series 6. They've got Peter Capaldi in it. They've got Paul Giancana in it. But there's 6 episodes. Don't know any more than that. You can go and look on IMDb if you know what that is. But it's lovely to see. And talking about telly, there is one thing that I'm aware of that I don't know how he gets away with it. But Michael Fabricant, or Michael Fabricant, to pronounce his name correctly. He's got this. It's like a crash helmet of blonde hair. Is it a wig? Does anybody know if that's a wig? Because I keep looking at him thinking, that's got to be a wig. That's not. So Michael Fabricant, he's not an MP anymore. Bless him, so he needs to get a few bob. They've got Mickey Rourke going into the celeb Big Brother household. It's Day 1, and Mickey Rourke is in the Big Brother household. And he said he's going to walk around naked. 9.5 weeks, anybody. I hope he doesn't do it anywhere near the fridge. Manda Sky, predictive programming equals Black Mirror. I know, Manda. Terry Wookfit, learn to fly a drone. You can go hunt humans in Ukraine for either side. Oh, lovely. So Michael Fabricant has had cancer, but be proud of that. If you're a survivor of cancer, be proud of that. Why do you need to wear a wig? So is Big Brother for the youth? Amalia, he denies it's a wig. Looks like a wig to me. I mean, all that conjecture and speculation. Not sure. We'll wait and see. Is he going to be another George Galloway? Mind you, Rula Lenska, I'm sure. I want to talk about right. What we've done. Right, I'm going to ask you, where are we? Yeah, it's about right. I'm going to ask you question 3 out of 6 tonight. And this is not a 1 or a 2 or using a number. I'm genuinely asking you because I want to talk about Gen Z tonight. Because I don't believe they have any manners. They have no idea. They literally are as mad as March hares. See what I did there? The Gen Z are mad as March hares. But I want to ask you a question. When I go out, and they do say the old manners maketh man. It's an old epithet that's used, manners maketh man. And I was told growing up, always maintain your manners. Be seen but not heard, children. Manners maketh man. But I was also told, maybe this is very old-fashioned, that a man must always walk in between a lady and the traffic, whether it's a coach, whether it's a car, but a man should always walk in between a lady and the traffic. And I still do to this day. But what's the one manner you were taught that you still uphold today? What is it? What manner or manners were you taught that you still uphold today? Rich says it's an old etiquette rule. Yeah, I get it. Opening doors, pulling out chairs. What is it? What's the one manner you were taught that you still uphold in 2025? As I say, me, it's walking between the traffic and a lady. So what in the field? Regard low. Not sure what that means, Alan. Hold a door open. Everybody's saying that. Ray, Les Griffiths, Paul Morton, open the door. Man the sky. It's all about respect. No elbows on the table. Nice one, Penny Hen. Yeah, well, I told that one as well. Open the door for and let her pass through for the lady. No farts in lifts. Nice one. Please and thank yous. Yeah, your P's and Q's. Hold doors open for people. Give my seat up for the elderly. Got into a bit of a to-do today, where some just Scum-sucking pond life. I think there was a chromosome missing, to be fair. And she started arguing with me. I was in the car, minding my own business. Stationary, handbrake on, minding my own business. And she was like, pull forward, pull forward. And I was about to, give her a piece of my mind, the sweary bit. And I saw that she was pregnant. So I just thought, I'm not going to, that's not a hill I want to die on. So I'm just going to pull forward. I'm not going to argue whether she's pregnant. So there are still some manners out there. Giving my seat up to pregnant females and older people, says Alan. Mum is always right, says the old bottle. Herding cats, always thank the bus driver, even if he drove like a knob. Brilliant. Interesting. It's interesting that a lot of people are saying, open doors, pull chairs for elderly and pregnant ladies. So thank you for your responses. Hang on, Luke, no little fingers out when drinking tea or coffee. Here I say, cock the old finger. Take pots out of sink before having a pee. Ray, you're wrong. Lionel Leighton, unrehearsed. Manners maketh man was my school motto, written over the assembly stage. Was it graffiti? Lionel Leighton. We'll get to more questions in just a little while. I'm going to talk about Gen Z now. Because as I say, in the Times today, they're talking about the young power list of 2025. What? So they're talking about the youth who've got no idea, no backbone, no idea. But because of this Times Young Power List 2025, I thought, let's have a chat about Gen Z. The 13 to 28-year-olds. It's a 15-year window gap. I mean, these are all the Nepo babies. I mean, they're so pathetically lazy. I mean, teenagers that can't get out of their bloody bed. I just... What was the old phrase that I'm looking for? The old saying, eagle that chases two rabbits catches none. And it's the old phrase of getting up early and getting on with it. But in my view, Gen Z, they've got no backbone, no drive, no imagination. But the times, I mean, do they have to give the kids, the Nepo babies, the Gen Z, do they have to give them hope? Well, they're all entitled, or they feel like they're entitled. They feel like they can do whatever they want to do whenever they want to do it. Entitlement is a real weakness in today's society. But this Gen Z are the only generation to be fully digital. If you think about your grandparents or your parents or even us, if we go down to the 35, 40-year-olds, if you're in your 20s, you've lived. I've had an iPhone for 18 years. 2008, almost 18 years. That's a generation. I've had a mobile phone since 1988. So we're not talking about one generation, we're talking two generations. So we've got this Gen Z coming through. The entitled parents are weak, bless them. I mean, if Gen Z wasn't so entitled Nepo babies, then where I believe we've gone wrong as a society, and I'm not apportioning blame, I'm not judging anyone, because life is as life is. But where are the men in these kids' lives? Now you've got daddy's girl, mummy's boy. We know that's ever the case. But if you think about Gen Z, they couldn't cope with what our grandparents cope with. They, 100 years ago, abject poverty, scratching around to try and get a meal to put on the table. And, the 9 to 5 only came in 100 years ago. All of the things that we take for granted. Tower Block Tracy. Sorry I'm late. I've been down in the old folks' home polishing old relics by hand. You should see the calluses on my hands. It's not the calluses I'm worried about, Tower Block Tracy. I hope you haven't Epsteined any of them. Well, at least they're stiff now. So that's... So if you look at our grandparents, they had different values, different principles, and if we go back about 100 years, they were just coming out of World War One, and I don't want you to think that I'm just lazily having a go. It's there before your eyes. You have a look at it. But our grandparents, my grandparents, they were around and having kids just before the First World War and just after, and then they had it tight when everything went to rat shit in the 20s into the 30s, and then World War II. So if you think about Gen Z now, the 13 to 28-year-olds, that's who I'm talking about. Can you imagine if Tuti Akia and Ursula von der Leyen bitch and all the other Europeans who have decided that we're going to go to war? Well, what are they going to do? Are we going to give them a rifle and a uniform and say, right, 10,000 boots on the ground, we're going to match France and we're going to put 10,000 boots on the ground in Ukraine? It's a war zone, so we'll give you 6 weeks basic up at Catterick and then you'll be off. We'll fly you out there. They would shit themselves. They would go, no, 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 no. Well, I'm afraid that if Tuti Akia decides it's Gen Z that's going to fight for us, I mean, we haven't got a cat in hell's. We literally haven't got a cat in hell's. Evening, Trevor. We haven't got a cat in hell's. But I believe that Gen Z, they're all victims. They're all victims with, I've got this ailment and I've got that ailment. They are the generation that's going to make Big Pharma a shit ton of money. So, you know, all these diagnoses of ADHD. I saw a paper the other day that says that ADHD is caused by stuff in your gut. And you can get rid of those critters in your gut. And then it'll kill off your ADHD. Why isn't that being promoted? Because there's money in them there hills, especially with, I'm anxious and I'm depressed and I need something to calm my nerves. Yeah, Rusty's roamings has said they'd all cry mental health. Absolutely, absolutely. But can I just say something? I believe that sending Gen Z to war might actually make something of them. So the Times are saying, oh, the young powerless, these people are powerful people. My hairy ass. Don't be stupid. They would never have gone out to the Falklands. They would never have gone out to Iraq. They would never have gone out to Afghanistan. No, I can't fire a rifle. No, mummy, mummy, mummy. Bad man's making me go and do stuff. Oh, how do we and shite, man? Get out to Iraq, get out to Afghanistan, but would they fight for Sir Keir Starmer? Only if he sends his own son to the front first. He's 17, coming up 18. He can go in as an officer if he wish. He can be a Rupert. But I want to add this to that, because there are times when I laugh at Gen Z because they think they know everything. And as I say, the first generation to go completely digital, you've got somebody somewhere decided that the next generation is going to be called Generation Alpha. Honestly. In the words of the great Chinese philosopher, there's harder stuff come out my arse than Generation Alpha. And this is going to be my take, my 360 take on this. Kids need dads. Kids need dads. So I believe, and it's a very old-fashioned take, but you raise kids until they're 7. The mum does it. She's the supplicator. She's the supporter. She's the one that will, there, darling, there, darling, wipe your ass, darling. Yes, eat your greens. You'll grow up to be a big, strong boy. But where's the dad in all this? Because the children need the input of the father. And I'm sad to say that it looks like the generational chaos that we have at the moment and the the ruination of these children. So like a little lad, as I've said to you earlier about my situation, I'm a grown-ass man now. I don't have any problems going into a court of law and telling the judge and looking him in the fucking eyeballs. I mean, I wish I'd been able to give him a kicking, but then I would have ended up in jail. And he would have been the victim and I would have been the bad man. Because coming from Sunderland, that's the way you survive. Fight, fight, fight. But, and I'm sure it's like that around the world. I mean, the special forces come out the north of England and Scotland because, well, we haven't had great upbringings, and we know how to fight, and we know how to take pain, so to speak. And I would just like to say, as Rich says, the dads instill the disciplines. So the dads need to be there for the kids when you've got little lads. Not being a man is a tough gig in this society at the moment. It's really stony and it's really hard. Now, it's not woe is me, but I'm saying to you that being a man in today's society is really tough. Because in the 80s, we were, oh, men should show their emotions. And then we get into the 90s and then men should show their emotions and they should do this and they should do that. And then we get into the noughties and all of a sudden the women are talking about toxic masculinity. What the fuck is that about? Is this like some retarded brain fart? Because they say, oh, well, yeah, it's toxic because it's masculine. And yet we have these Nepo babies that have not had any input from a father. And maybe if they'd had input from a father, and look, being a single parent, whether it be mother or father, again, is a really tough gig. You've got the schooling, you've got the violence, you've got the chaos. How do you bring children up in this world? Well, some people are choosing not to. But is it only those with two parents that are actually going to have the tools to be able to survive this world? As I say, maybe something as big as going to war might actually save them. But children need to be taught from the men that the cavalry never comes. And parents should be instilling principles and virtues and giving kids the tools to survive this life. Now, ordinarily, it might be the tools to actually defeat themselves, but that has to be given. But as Des Ashton says, the politicians, the scum-sucking pond life, the political classes just want to divide and conquer. They don't care about you. You're a cash cow. They just want you to do as you're told, take what they're going to give you, and have this jibber-jabber agenda that Fauci still wants us to take. Now, we had that malarkey 5 years ago. We had that bullshit 5 years ago. As I say, we don't judge on this channel, but would you do it again? Fauci wants us to do it again. Fauci wants to tell us it's bird flu this time, H5N1 or something. Did you see that Curry couple's Nepo baby? They wanted to go to Hollywood. Poor thing looks far too strange. Yeah, I did see that the other day, Rich. I don't watch the soaps. I think it's in one of the newspapers. I literally don't watch the soaps because it's all made up. So I would suggest fathers are needed. But gone is the day when we would have a man and woman in a relationship. The woman would be the supplicator, the male would be the disciplinarian. And it worked. It's worked for millions of years, however long the humankind has been on this planet, if it has been millions. But I will say this in the gentlest possible terms. And to the ladies, stop it. Stop it. You can't do this. I'm telling you, you can't do this. You can't be the disciplinarian. It takes a man. Because, and as I have in the past, you just have to growl at a boy and he knows. The girl, she might manipulate the father and wrap him round her little finger, but the disciplinarian for the females should be the mother, because the daughters know the mothers don't take their bullshit. But the boys know. Little boys know. And again, I'm not judging anyone, but can we not, and people are going to point fingers and say, this is really old-fashioned, Adrian. Well, it worked. It's worked for hundreds of thousands of years. Why do I have to deviate from it? Because they want to divide and conquer, as Des said earlier. They want you doing as you are told. They don't want the family unit, the nuclear unit. They don't want that 2 parents, 2 kids, possibly one of a boy, one of a girl. They don't want that anymore. They've got control of you. And by doing this, this is the best thing that you can do for your community. This is the best thing that you can do for your children. Brought up in the 70s. My mum, a single parent, as my biological father departed in 71. I never had a father figure until the 80s. I disagree. I employ 18 staff, all without a fatherly interaction. Brilliant. Brilliant. How many kids you got? Have you got a boy? Have you got a little girl? You can't do to staff what you should be doing to children, which is bring them up with virtues, with understanding of life, and with the tools to survive life day in, day out. As I say, being a man, it's a tough gig, but being a single mother is also tough. But why all of a sudden the female of the species has gone a bit mad, in my view, and men? I mean, we can get into drug taking and ketamine, because you know the side effects of ketamine. At some point, a generation is not going to be able to get it up, because that's one of the side effects of ketamine. They're going to pee their pants, because that's also, you can't control your bowels. That's another side effect of ketamine. And there is an epidemic of ketamine going on in our society and in this sceptred isle and America and around the world, because they don't care. They just want you taking the recreational stuff, and they want you to take all the stuff that big pharma are going to shove down your throats when you've got problems. Surely men should be able to take up that particular cudgel and guide the young guys, because we've been through it. Even though the kids don't, it's only mum and dad. We can get away with this. Around the back of the bike shed for a fag. We can get away with this. Our teachers, they're stupid. My dad never raised his hands to me. Not once. He was an arsehole, but he never raised his hands to me once. Because he didn't need to. The threat of violence was always worse than the actual act. Andrew James says, when my mother told me off, I used to laugh. When my father told me off, I used to run. That's it in a nutshell. Stephen Hall, I'm watching Adrian on the phone. The laptop keeps behaving like a brat. 7 or 8 year old. Mummies will kiss it better. Daddies will tell you where you've gone wrong and what you need to do next time. Boys need men to guide them. This is not toxic masculinity. This is not a bunch of guys going, we will just ruin young boys. No. I mean, well, unless you're a Catholic bishop or the Pope or royals or politicians or Diddy. Women are doing their best given their circumstances. But how about, I mean, if people get married, there is an argument for you can't get divorced. I mean, it used to be the Hollywood actors and actresses who, they used to get married like 7 or 8 times. Look at Richard Burton and Liz Taylor. Bloody hell, how much did they like wedding cake? So I would stop them from getting divorced, saying, right, you can sort this. It was for life. It was in sight of God, the sacrament of God, and you decided. Dominic Beresford says, a mate of mine coaches under 15s football. He can tell the lads with no dads present because they're batshit crazy. I know. And all these kids are trying to live up to macho personas. Knife crime. I'm not suggesting that absent fathers is causing the knife crime, because I think it's a myriad of possible reasons. But the fact that, and I'm still really annoyed at this, that having trained for 20 years in a martial art, ninjutsu, which is weapons, open-handed, strategy, everything. It's an art, not a sport. But we're being told you're going to have to hand your katana in because we're not allowing them in people's homes. I revere the katana, the life-giving sword. Somebody came at me with a katana, I'd take it off them and shove it up their ass. And you think that's Bravissimo? No, that's a bra company. There are levels within levels within levels. And if you've trained sufficiently, You and I both know that there are techniques that you and I know to go with taking a katana off someone. I don't bring that to the public, obviously, to the untrained eye or heart. But I'll boil everything that I've said down to this. Do you want your son, I'm not talking about the girls, do you want your son to grow up to be 2 Tia Kia or the Donald? Because we both know who's soliciting more maleness of the two. I'll leave it with you. Trump was shot at, lawfare, to try to bankrupt him, attacked on all sides, financially, physically, and he still became president of the United States. And I will guarantee you that he will go down in history. And if you're wondering what's going on with all this tariff stuff, well, do not read the newspapers, because 6 weeks ago, I told you what he was going to do. And here it is in a nutshell. Before I move on to anything else, we'll talk about corrupt politicians. I will say to you this. Donald Trump and America has a 35.6 trillion debt that he needs to deal with. So what he's doing is, and he has to pay $1 trillion per year to pay off the debt, the interest on the debt rather. So what he's going to do is he's going to tank the economy worldwide by about 20%. He wants the interest rates to come down so that he will get it as close to 0%. And it's got to happen in, I think, $9 trillion in loans has to be sorted in 2025 as part of the 36 trillion dollars. It has to be secured in 2025, and the Donald wants it as close to 0% interest on this debt, so that he can play with the American economy, and within 2 or 3 years, they will get through what they're doing. But every newspaper that's part of the globalist agenda, that's part of the left-wing agenda, they're saying, oh, what's he doing? What's he doing? Oh, we're all going to die. Oh, no. Oh, tariffs. No. Well, tariffs have been around for bloody hundreds of years. The newspapers are now saying the last 2 presidents that tried this bankrupt the country. Well, how much more debt do you think that America's got to be in? It's bankrupt now. So the left will come out and go, oh, see, he's bankrupt the country. No. They can't trade their way out of this debt. It's more than 100% of their gross domestic product, GDP. That's why Doge went in and cut all the corruption, all of the money that was going to NGOs. So all you had to do, and it happens in this country, mark my words, and every other country around Europe, what they do is the politicians will set up an NGO, a non-governmental organization, and then a shit ton of United States Agency for International Development, the billions and hundreds of billions that's been pumped through that US aid. Because it's been pumped through that, it goes to NGOs, and NGOs will go, well, thanks, I'll take 10 million, or I'll take this, or I'll take that. And that's what Doge, Musk, and Trump are trying to stop. Now, USAID is no more. It's finished. It's done. It's eviscerated. It's gone. So now the politicians are kicking off big time because they have lost their access to billions and billions and billions of dollars of taxpayers' money. It happens in this country, just not dollars and pounds. All this foreign aid. Why are we giving it away to Africa and Europe and other countries? Because the politicians want a kickback. You don't think these idiots are telling you the truth? How do we end shite, man? So let's dovetail that with this. The PPE grift, as I call it. So when is Michael Gove going to be questioned about the billions of taxpayers' money that's being given away? For example, couple got £2 billion for PPE. 1.4 billion of it was binned. So nobody touched it. They were aware of it. But were the checks and balances in place? One couple, one company, £2 billion for PPE, and 1.4 billion of it was binned. And then they go off and buy a £7 million mansion. How does that work then? And now we've got the Bibi Stockholm. Can you remember that? Oh, it's going to take all these illegals. It's going to take all the immigrants. It cost 1.6 billion. A floating barge, in essence, 1.6 billion. Was it gold tapped, gold toilet? Was it gold floored? What cost 1.6 billion? And then it was scrapped. Because some of them were like, oh yeah, it's not bad. And some of them said, oh no, I'm not sleeping on there. The firm was still paid even when the migrants left. Who's making the money? It's corrupt in Westminster. Completely corrupt. Why would they give away tens of billions of pounds for PPE that wasn't actually used? One couple, 2 billions worth. Michelle Mone, 200 millions worth. And I don't think they used their PPE. Oh, don't worry. Yeah, I've dealt with the Far East for years, and I can get you a good pair of knickers or a good bra. Yeah, we can do that. 29 or 30 million pounds profit on the deal that they sailed off to the Mediterranean in. They're not going to come back. Don't be silly. They'll stay in international waters. Talking of which, some of the stuff that you might not have seen today. I'm going to talk about Kate Griftaway. She's now talking about, and maybe it's because she needs some kind of coverage, some kind of publicity, she's talking about her first date with dead husband, Derek. I mean, does that not feel a bit grubby to you? I'm not. I mean, using your dead husband, man, for publicity, for coverage, for profile. No, that doesn't work for me. I don't know whether it does for you, but now she's talking about, oh yeah, we went on this, and it was a non-story, literally a non-story. We went out and he forgot, and he was upset, and he apologised. And look, mate, you're on the telly every morning, and now you're doing life stories. I saw a clip of it. No gravitas, no presence. A bit like Mr. Beast's games. Mr. Beast, a really unfortunate name. I don't know why he's decided to take that. Because me and you know, Beast, we know what that is in jail. Have you heard of the Groucho Club? The Groucho Club was one of the kind of coolest media clubs in London. But it closed because of stuff that was going on in the background. Were you aware that a newly elected MP, July last year, is being investigated over a sexual assault in the Groucho Club? That not the big one. There was a rape perpetrated in the Groucho Club that they're investigating, but the club's closed, and there was a newly elected MP in July last year is being investigated over sexual assault. Now, the attack was within the club. It's alleged to have taken place in August 2023. So the first question off my tip of my tongue is, did this new MP know before they were elected about these allegations? So this is August 2023. That's when it happened. And it wasn't until July 2024 that this MP was elected. We need to be told. How can you elect someone under investigation now? No output from the police or the Crown Prosecution Service. But watch that, because they'll try and bury this. So you've got one guy arrested, and now another Labourite arrested. And then there was that other guy, the ginger guy, a couple of days ago, who was in the same kind of predicament. Labour's chocked full of it, but it's the timing of it all that's coming out, and people are having to. It's reforms, local elections, and the Labour Party are just going to have to sit and see and wait as to what is happening with the local elections, because the Labour Party will find out what the feeling is out on the streets. They'll get the feeling of what the man and woman on the street are deciding they've had enough of. You watch. And I predicted this last year, if Labour get a doing at the local elections, Starmer's gone. They will choose somebody else because they're worried that they will lose the general election in, 29. But I'll make a prediction for you. quite a way out, so I'll nail my colours to the flag post. Reform's not the answer, but the Labour Party are finished. Finished. The Tories are finished because we can't trust them. So all the political parties, the Lib Dems won't get in. Ed Davey, he's as mad as a box of frogs, that bloke. Did you see him with his little hobby horse during the week, jumping over these fences like he was some thoroughbred? Mate, who said to you, which advisor said to you that that's a good thing? Because it wasn't. It made you look like an arse. I did say to you that Jeffrey Epstein was going to rear his ugly head in 2025. Diddy's not far away from going to court, and I've been doing a deep dive on Hugh Hefner. Oi, 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 oi. Hugh Hefner died in 2017, 8 years ago, and they're still talking about those tunnels under the Playboy Mansion. It was a honeypot entrapment scheme. So if you look at Playboy over and Hugh Hefner was a billionaire. Where did he get the billions from? Was it like flogging mucky mags or something? But there was all these models who were there. They were getting, from what I can gather, they were getting like $1,000 a week or $2,000 for special clothes, and they were getting some jewelry. But there's loads of them, loads of them. He was taking the little blue pill, and then how's your father? Oy, 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 oy. I mean, whatever he was wearing, obviously he needed ironing. But you've got the original honeypot entrapment with the Playboy Mansion. Now, I'm not suggesting that that went on, but if you look at it, where did the money come from? And they talked about the grotto at the Playboy Mansion, and all Hugh Hefner was doing was selling sex. That's all he was doing. And then the girls from Playboy Mansion, I mean, that was, God blimey, that was the early 2000s. But then Diddy, he's up on charges in America. And there's some very, 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 very nervous people in Hollywood and over here. Russell Brand was pictured with Diddy. Prince Harry was pictured with Diddy. Leonardo DiCaprio was pictured with Diddy. Now, I'm not suggesting anything nefarious went on, but why the bloody hell? Everybody in Hollywood knew what was going on. There are certain videotapes that have been hawked around Hollywood, and the most powerful and the richest will have bought them and destroyed them. If it's destroyed, got no evidence. But think about that. The last 50 years, you've had Hugh Hefner, Diddy, and Epstein, and they were all making sure that they had stuff on the powerful, the politicians, the very powerful, and it goes right to the top of the food chain. As somebody said earlier, I think it was Terry, you can go fly drones and hunt humans in Ukraine. Heard those rumours. If you want to, do not Google this. Do not go looking for this, because it's on the dark web. But if you look for frazzle drip, you'll find something that will make your hair curl. I am not going to tell you anymore. So there are videos that have gone around Hollywood that are from Diddy's house. And they've tried to kill certain stories, not humans. They've tried to kill certain stories so that the people that are really in the doo-doo are trying to save their careers and their lives. But ask yourself this, did you not see those tunnels under a synagogue in New York and wonder, why is that mattress marked? What are the stains on that mattress? And what are they up to? Because those holes, those caverns under the synagogue, they were closed up really quickly. So 300,000 children go missing every year in America. 300,000. I told a story today that would be blocked by a D notice. So I'm really not going to go into that particular circle, and I'm not going to tug that particular tiger's tail. But even in this country, there are procurers for powerful people of children. It's a very dark subject. Not sure I want to bring it to you. But as I say, I've been doing this for 40 years. I'm aware of certain things that I can't really bring to this, because if I do, then you won't hear from me again. And look at Dr. David Kelly. You think this is a dress rehearsal? You think that these dark, malevolent, powerful people don't decide that if you're causing too much of a stink, then off you'll go? They're now looking into Dr. David Kelly's case again, and there are certain people that are saying, we need to look at all the paperwork. We need to have the case reopened. The world is very dark. It's not as you believe or think. It's perception versus reality. Different subject, not conjoined with what I've been talking about. But I told you about Tony Blair and Klaus Schwab not really resigning until January 2027. So I'm going to ask you this question. We'll get to like the questions, but I'm going to ask you to think about this question for maybe Wednesday's live. What are they needing to happen before the end of 2026? So if you look at the globalists, you look at Europe are kicking off, they're spitting out their dummy, and they're saying, oh, well, the Donald and this and that and the other, and he's getting on with it, making America great again. Now, I'm not suggesting that he's some kind of angel. If you saw or have seen a film called The Apprentice, I watched it last week, and I know Donald Trump's story. There was a documentary, a multiple-part documentary on one of the streaming channels last year about the Donald and what he's been up to and how he rose. And this film, if you can catch it, I don't know whether it's on the streaming services, but it's all about his rise. It's all about New York. It's all about his deals, his stuff, his casinos, and the hotels that he built, and deals that he did to be able to pay or not pay taxes in New York with Mayor Koch and the like. So it's a hatchet job. And I know for sure that if they're trying to do a hatchet job via Hollywood on the current president of the United States, then he's doing something right, because the powerful are scared of him. Yes, he was mates with Epstein in some shape or form, but in this movie, they try and show you that he is a drinker. Well, we all know that Trump has never done drugs, never done cigarettes, never smoked, and has never done alcohol. The reason being his elder brother that he absolutely worshipped and idolized died from excess, for want of a better term, drugs and alcohol. But this film tries to insinuate that Trump drinks. He doesn't. He never has. And then they have a scene with the Donald and Ivana, his first wife. Hatchet job. They've tried to connect him with Epstein. And he's come out and said, I never went to the island. Yes, I knew him. Everybody in New York knew him. Stuart says, Trump says he never drank alcohol or smoked a cigarette. Correct? Correct. Ray Norton, social credit score, digital ID. Yeah, they want all those in. I mean, I'm sure that's why Blair has been co-opted onto the board of the World Economic Forum, because Blair wants the contract for every country around Europe for a digital ID. And I will tell you again, what they will do is they will give you a solution to a problem you never knew you had. That's the way it works. That's the game. And the money comes out of the taxpayers, me and you. They take the money, they create it. They'll give some company. I mean, there's rich boy Sunak said no to the Chinese. The Chinese wanted to do our digital ID, and the Chinese said, "Oh, go on, Rishi, and we'll do it for you." And he went, "No, we're not having you in this country. Too much of a security risk." And then today they're talking about the Russians listening to us with listening devices in the sea, under the sea. Can you not see? They create the bogeyman, drip, 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 bogeyman. So Putin is the bogeyman. Putin's not the bogeyman. I've told you a million times. All Putin wants is energy independence, the energy independence from the gas and the oil under the Black Sea. And that's why he wanted Crimea. That's why he's rolled over and had the Donald tickle his tummy. And that's why the Ukraine war is going to be over. But Europe want that war to continue because war makes people rich. That's all they're after. So look at, Ursula von der Leyen, wasn't she kicked out of German politics or something? And she's not being elected to be the head of Europe. How does that work? Because she'd be making other people, powerful people, richer than they already are. So the taxpayers' money is a wash all through Europe, and they give it, carve it up. Telling you. Let's get to talking about money, and I've got to be very careful what I say. Andrew James says, on The Apprentice, Trump fired a contestant for having a DUI, which is drunk under the influence. Driving under the influence, rather. I know, he doesn't like it. And I've said to you, the reason why it kicked off in the White House with Zelensky, Trump and J.D. Vance is because Zelensky pitched up, obviously under the influence of something, and Trump didn't like it. He doesn't like it. And that's why it all kicked off. And J.D. Vance and Trump were aware of what was going on. Their intelligence services will have told them. They already knew, Sniffy. And yet all the newspapers are saying, oh, Trump's a bad man, he's doing this and he's doing that. And then to Kia and King Charles has Sniffy over at Windsor Castle. How does that work then? One of the oldest bloodlines in the world. Because there's money in Ukraine, whether it's in the minerals or whether it's the gas and oil under the Black Sea. They all want a bit of the action. They all want to make shit tons of money. All of them. Because kings need it. Kings need to live in opulence and they need money. Look at all the French kings when they try to get away with killing off the Knights Templar. And then Hugh de Payne when he was being tortured and then burned at the stake. He said, curse be upon you. And then the Pope died pretty sharp. Within the next year, Pope died, King died, and one of the judges, I think it was, that put him to death, died in mysterious circumstances. So money is the root of all evil, as they say. I don't know whether you've seen Channel 4 Dispatches yet. It's called Delivered to a Predator. And I will say this to you. Now, I worked within the Fayed organisation. I was part of the management team at his radio station. It's called Liberty 963. It was originally called Viva, or known in London as Vulva AM. And the reason why he wanted it, because he thought having a radio station, it would bring the government down. He was really unhappy with the politicians. Can you not remember the man and wife team, the MP, Ian? He got brown envelopes full of cash. Was it Hamilton? Andrew James. Zappa got angry if a band member got stoned. I know it's rock and roll, baby, but, some people actually love love being musicians, and they don't want to get too off their tits because they love being musicians. The Hamiltons. Thank you, Paul. So this story, and as I say, I was in the Fayed organisation from 96 to 98, running a radio station in London, originally just off the Edgware Road in the Jazz FM building. And then we moved into the building opposite Harrods on the Brompton Road. Now, this Dispatches tells the story. And also, some people thought that I worked in the building next to the right of, I think, Harrods. But it was literally directly opposite Harrods. And I'm sure we were up on the 7th floor. And as I say, when Diana was murdered, there were men carrying machine guns on the top of Harrods, because Fayed thought that they were after him, not Diana. So the story goes that back in the day, 21 women came forward and made allegations against Fayed. He's dead now. and has been for a few years. Some of them went to the Met. Nothing was ever done. Nothing was ever investigated. And then Dispatches do another hit piece on a dead man. Now, I've seen these hit pieces before. And I will tell you this. When I was working, I mean, he was a funny old fruit, was fired. But in the 90s, when I was there, like I say, 96 to 98, had carte blanche to go anywhere. He was offering the little blue pill because he thought it was funny. He thought it was a marvel of science. He was giving everybody that would take them, have these, have these, have these. They're fantastic. The old boy couldn't get it up, man. In my experience, why would you be given, unless he just thought that, it's a bit like Playboy. He was using the blue pill. I mean, in his 80s and 90s. But fired when I knew him was in his 60s. But the reason why I mentioned there was 21 women came forward with allegations about Fayed once he died. I've told you before, I don't trust a barrister or a lawyer as far as I can spit them. They're only ever in it for the money. They don't even like each other, and they would knife each other in the back for a nice payday. I don't like the legal industry or profession. I mean, obviously, there are exceptions to every rule. And I'm sure that there are really good people that are within the legal fraternity who are not particularly bothered by the money. As I say, there's an exception to every rule. But this is my question, and I don't want you to answer necessarily. Who's making the money from this? So originally 21 women came forward, and then all of a sudden they're talking about 300 grand each for the victims from the current Harrods owners. Now that's enough to turn anybody's head. Oh, and look, if anybody has had to go through what they're alleging, then surely it would have been right to go to the police at the time. And surely a bad man should have been jailed. But who's making the money out of this? I'll tell you, it won't be the victims. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Because if you look at the post office were awarded 40 odd million in compensation, and 30 odd million went to the legal teams. At least Dick Turpin had the decency to wear a fucking mask. So it's kind of pootling along. You get a bit of reportage every now and again. Oh, there's this and there's that and the other. So it's been in the newspapers, in the media for long enough. And as I say, anyone that is a victim, and I'm not naming anyone, but anyone that is a victim of such heinous crimes should have gone to the police first. Not try and get any compensation. Because you do know that the barristers will be taking a hefty chunk of all the compensation that is offered, because they're not there for the victims. Because if they were, and they believed in the victims, they would have done it pro bono. They would have done it for nothing. Nothing. To get the victims justice. So what I want to know is, how much are the legal teams making? How much are the barristers making? Millions? Because that's the kind of money that's sloshing about in this case. Harrods have offered a compensation package. The Met only had 21 people come forward until the money started sloshing about. More victims, more money for the barristers. And I watched this Dispatches. There was nothing new in there. Nothing. Nothing I didn't know already. It's a hatchet piece. And they need the hatchet piece just to keep the story going. More victims, more money. But here's a question for you that I can't reconcile myself with. Why did these victims keep going back? I've told you before when I've done stories about Fayed and Fulham and Punch and Liberty 963 and going over to Harrods, in my view, and there were News of the World exposés everywhere about this, there were hookers on the perfume counter in Harrods, because the rich Arabs would come into the country and it was, straight to Harrods. Yes, I'll have some of that and some of that and some of that. It's for my wife, obviously, but can you have it delivered to my hotel suite, please? And the woman standing in front of them would be, yes, sir, we'll bring, what time would you like it delivered? About 4 o'clock this afternoon. Brilliant. I will bring it personally for you. That's how it worked. So I keep saying to you, life is dark, perception versus reality. So some of the girls on the perfume counter in Harrods were on the game. And they knew what the game was: rich Arabs. Going to ask you about conspiracy theories. Because my next deep dive, I know I've got this interview, which please, once I upload it over the next few days, please watch it, because Mark talks about some real stuff. Some real stuff. The people that, like Candace Owen, are quoting from Mark and his books. So I'm going to say thank you to Aurora. I'm not sure if they're in the body of the Kirk this evening, but Aurora gave me a lovely link to a new conspiracy theory. Bill Hicks versus Alex Jones. Is Bill Hicks actually Alex Jones? Are they one and the same person? Oh, Rokita, you're a terrible person. Because thank you very much for it. But I am absolutely going down that rabbit hole, because Bill Hicks is one of my favourite comedians ever, one of the best ever. And Alex Jones is it's a bit of a character. And the video that I've seen, he's just doing it for shits and giggles. Bless him. I want to talk about. Let's do another couple of questions. Got 3 more questions before I finish. First question. So we'll talk about tariffs, because as I've said to you, the tariffs are just a distraction. US aid is now completely dead. The knives are going to be out soon. But what's going on? Well, I told you first what he was doing. He's got to get rid of the debt. Has to get rid of the debt. And I told you weeks and weeks ago about what he was going to do. I also told you 18 months ago that Trump was the savior of America. The Democrats didn't want that. The political classes in Washington didn't want that, because he would just queer their pitch. He would stop all the money that they're skimming off the top of all the games. So I'm going to ask you this question. And the answer is either Donald Trump or Starmer. And the question is, who are you backing in the tariff war? Who are you backing in the tariff war? Is it Trump or is it Starmer the Harmer? Wow. Stephen Hall's going to get the popcorn out. Ray Norton, top of 69, Nicky Watson, Alan, Rich are all saying, Les Griffith says, no point in commenting on this, Adrian. Most replies will be censored. Oh, bless you, Les. I genuinely, I will have a look at that, but there's nothing I can do if... I did a Russell Brand video the other day, and I had to decide whether to use the language that I wanted to use, which is the word rape and the word sexual assault, and use the reportage in a measured journalistic way that we were allowed to do. But I decided not to monetize the video because I wanted to be accurate in what I was reporting to you, because it's a big story. So I'm sorry that I don't know what they're doing to the comments, but literally everybody, Andy Thomas, Sammy in the field, setting the standard for countries to follow, Karina Jane and Reg D and Manda Sky. Oh, you're sitting on the fence, Manda. Oh, interesting. But most are definitely Trump, says Andy Spittle. Seaman Stain says Trump. So thank you for that. Thank you for all your Des Ashton, what tariff was your tart? I want to be quite serious with you because there's a section of society that, especially during lockdown, so a lot of the stuff that I'm talking about today is layered, and there are certain parts of society that never get any thanks. They never get any support. And these political grifters, the corrupt in the Pink Palace, they're not interested in giving them any credence. But if the state had to do their job, oh bloody hell, hundreds of millions, if not billions, would be charged to the state. I'm talking about carers, because I'm sure we're all aware. We all have carers in maybe our extended families, and people will marry someone, and whether it's sadly some really debilitating medical conditions, whether it's cancers or whether it's heart conditions or lung conditions or people with Alzheimer's or dementia, there are people that on a daily basis look after their partners and or their family member with no thanks, with no grandiose acknowledgement from the politicians. Although if they thought there was a bit of political grift to be had, then they would be straight down that particular plug hole. But I just wanted to mention, because I read, have you seen the Julie Goodyear story? Bet Lynch from Coronation Street. There was a picture taken by her husband, Scott Brand, and Julie looked really frail, old and frail, but it was raw. That picture was raw. And although it may have been shocking to possibly you and I to see someone in her pomp, was one of the most famous women in the country and had a certain beauty, to be that raw and to be that unfiltered, I think is the best word, was quite a shock to see. But Scott, her husband, is her carer and sees Julie every single day. Now she's in an advanced stage of dementia. But I just wanted to mention this because we have a lot of people that are in the shadows, that society doesn't recognize, society doesn't support. And I'm sure if Julie knew somewhere, any actress or celeb would have hated that picture. But her husband, Scott, loves her and just wanted to let the world know what she was going through, what she was tackling, what she was dealing with. And she might not even know what she's tackling or dealing with. But her husband does. And there are so many husbands and wives that are dealing with this kind of illness without any thanks, without any glorification, without any of the family. But to recognize someone who posted that picture out of love. I'll ask you a question. If your partner ever, and I don't wish this on anyone, I wish everyone a long life and a healthy life, as much as they can towards the end. Would you be able to deal with dementia, Alzheimer's? Would you be able to deal with their inability to control their bowels, to control who they are, the tempers and the tantrums, and just the final stage of their life, irrespective of whether they're being famous or what's gone on during their life, what they've been able to enjoy? But this is what I want to know. What actually is love? Would you stand there? Would you stand shoulder to shoulder with your wife or your husband, and would you deal with it if you haven't already had something like that? My grandmother had Alzheimer's for 10 years. When she smiled, it lit up the room. The picture of Julie was poignant and beautiful. Bless you, Dominic Beresford. Thank you, Dominic. Stephen Hall says, I've seen it, Adrian. Rich better than people not knowing how she is until after her death. I agree with you, Rich. It for me initially it was quite a shock, and I'm sure the country, because I think it's touched a nerve. As you say, Rich, better to know now than after she goes. Rusty's roaming says it's an evil condition. I know it just it robs people of their dignity and their memories. I mean, my mum was lucky she went with cancer, Alzheimer's and dementia. Horrible, horrible, horrible. And I do wish Julie well as best she can, and Scott, her husband, who I know has been with Julie for quite a while. But I'm going to ask you, there's millions of carers in this country, millions, and they don't get any support. They don't respite. Try and get respite for carers. And these carers do the work that the government should do. And look at carers of the elderly. Jesus, look at what happened to the carers in lockdown. Absolutely unacceptable on every single level. And these clowns that did that to the carers who were looking after the elderly, disgusting. May they rot in hell. But I don't, to use this particular vernacular, I don't want to see this pudding over egged. It was sad to see Julie like this, but then I just thought of all the carers who are dealing with exactly the same day in, day out. No thanks, no respite. Just wanted to mention that to you. Carers, the backbone of our society. I agree with you, Rusty's roamings. Stephen Hall, don't think I could deal with it. It takes a certain kind of backbone, and it's just love, isn't it? If you love your partner, it's you just, it's the thing that you want to do for them. How many of us could do it though? I'm sure there are many people that walk away at the initial diagnosis, whether it's cancer. Loads of people go, oh no, I can't handle that, I'm off. In the field, Julie's husband isn't shocked by Julie's appearance now. Love can see through the visuals that shock us. Brave and courageous photo. Agreed in the field. Terry Wookford, old-fashioned family values, looked after a loved one through thick and thin, in sickness and in health, and all that bollocks. So it takes us back to Gen Z. Well, do they have the fortitude to be able to deal with that kind of thing? I doubt that they have. I've still got 2 questions I want to ask you, I think. No, one last one. Because I'm doing... So, JFK, man on the moon. We noticed how NASA don't have any of the pictures or the data from the moon landings. But there is another... I'm going to ask you this question. Now, the woman that's looking after the JFK task force is Congresswoman Luna. And I talk with Mark Shaw in the interview about her. And he's been in contact with her. That's how high up the food chain he is. And he's chatted with her. But she's looking after both UFOs and JFK. And I'm watching these hearings that are going on about UFOs, unidentified flying objects. I'm not interested in how they're changing the name of that. But I just want to ask you an honest question. Do you think that UFOs are real? Or just a CIA conspiracy that are hiding some of the stuff that Lockheed Martin and Skunk Works are working on, that are top secret, and they can't have people knowing what it is, so they are reverse engineering little green men and their spaceships? But it's kind of, it's so far out there. I'm going to ask you a question. 1 for yes, 2 for no. I agree with you, Terry. But I'm being serious, you're Roman. Do you think UFOs are real? 1, yes. 2, no. And it's a two-parter, or just a CIA conspiracy theory. So do you think that UFOs are real or a CIA conspiracy theory? You can just say real or conspiracy theory if you wish. You see, this has split everyone again tonight. Some are saying, yeah. Thank you, Tamara. Is it Pesci? Tamara? For being a newbie. Andy H, 2. Michelle Goodyear, 1. Interesting. I would say that's a 50-50 split. But keep your answers coming. Do you think that UFOs are real or a CIA conspiracy theory? So you may lose me for a couple of weeks while I go on the Little Green Man deep dive, Area 51 and all that. But it's, I mean, maybe they're just I'm going to try and work out whether it's just to put that into the public consciousness, and actually they know. And Area 51 for reverse engineering, who knows? But that Area 51 and all the little green men and the UFOs have all taken a back seat comparatively to JFK and 9/11 and all the other conspiracy theories, if you wish. But Luke says real, real, real. Isn't it interesting? So I'm going to do a deep dive over the next couple of weeks, see what I can come up with for you. See if I can get anything else. All is pretty much done for this evening. What time we got? Oh, interesting. So Les Griffith says, there are ancient Egyptian scrolls describing the sky being full of flying objects witnessed by pharaohs. Interesting, Les. I mean, I know that they're talking about... oh, what have I done with it? Do you know, I kept it... Ah, there it's there. Did I show you this? Out of my library, there's a book by Andrew Collins. It's called... it's called Under the Pyramids. And this is... it's about 10 years old. So this stuff that they're doing beneath the pyramids, Egypt's greatest secret uncovered. And Andrew Collins went to the Giza Plateau and found a way under the pyramids. Wasn't allowed to go all the way in. And the Egyptians are not best happy that, that they've been scanning the Giza Plateau from satellites above their head that they can do nothing about. Gary, I'm aware of Project Bluebeam. Nicky Watson, thanks, Adrian. Good night, all. Yeah, Robin, bloody hell. Swift out. So again, I think over the next 10 years or so, there are some things that are going to come out that it's just going to blow our mind, because we're told this is real. Well, actually, this is real. That's just perception, what we've been told. The historical take, because they don't know either. They look real in the movies. I mean, you can see the strings and everything, Tom. Alan says pyramids have got symbols showing possible spacemen and ships. I've been to Egypt. I've been to the Giza Plateau, as I've already told you in one of the other lives. But I also went to some of the other... You kind of get tombed out. I've been to the Valley of the Kings. I've done all kinds of stuff in the Valley of the Kings, including a wonderful balloon ride. But I never got to the actual... tomb where they've got like a light bulb carved into the walls. I didn't get to see the helicopter that was carved into the walls. Thunderbirds was real. Right, exactly that. Actually, there's a reference to Thunderbirds just off the top of my head. I was walking down the road earlier today, and can you remember Thunderbirds and Captain Scarlet? Are you old enough to remember those? Whenever they would go to like an airport, or there was treachery, and there was a problem, and international rescue had to be dialed to come and rescue people who were trapped, they would always have these vehicles. Now, I get that they were models, but the vehicles would always have a particular sound. And that's the sound that comes out of electric cars. A car went past me today, an electric car, evidently, and I thought, Jesus, that sounds just like Thunderbirds. That's what they sound like. And maybe, and Joe 90, yeah, Mark Mulvaney, thank you. The maybe a bit like, you know, the flip phone, when it started coming out in Wow, early 2000s. They had this flip phone, and they based that on, you know, the flip communication tool that they had in Star Trek. So they based it on that. Everybody was like, brilliant, it's just like Star Trek. That's why they did it. But now electric cars sounding like, ooh, sounds like Thunderbirds, or sounds like Captain Scarlet, or Joe 90, or one of the old cartoons from, or puppet series back in the 60s and early 70s. Wouldn't that be cool, though? So thank you to everyone that's been part of the live this evening. Again, thank you for your likes. Please smash the likes. There's almost 250 people watching. And let me just have a quick look at that. Yeah, we definitely need more likes. You've been a bit stingy tonight. But more likes if you could. Really appreciate them. And it just lets the algorithm know that there's something quite special going on. Thank you for your likes, your subscriptions. As always, please make sure that you are subscribed for the next videos coming. But most of all, your indulgence. And thank you for all your comments and your indulgence this evening. My name's Adrian Allen. Go well, be healthy, but whatever you do, don't forget the Battenberg. See you in the next video.